My next guy um, is Kofi Kingston. Now I know Kofi Kingston is another guy who's currently, he's my second guy on this list that is currently on the roster. Kofi Kingston is just so entertaining. He makes me, he reminds me, I know I'm just talking about John Morrison. I think the same thing goes for Kofi Kingston. He does stuff that nobody else can do, I believe. Kofi Kingston is so athletic. He's such a great wrestler. He can hit that. He has a move that can be hit out of just about anywhere. And it's been shown in different times in his career that Kofi Kingston can show some ruthless aggression. I don't know if they think that he's too passive. You know, he just doesn't come off as, you know, a badass. Or I don't know. I'm not sure why they won't push him. Maybe I think it's probably because of the mic skills as well. I don't know. But Kofi Kingston should be at least getting a main event push, you know, a meaningful storyline at some point. He hasn't had a meaningful storyline since 2008 against Randy Orton, and apparently he messed up in that matchup, and they haven't been behind him ever since. But Kofi Kingston has never been as high as he was 2008. And they should, I mean, for a guy who's never made a mistake ever, he never violated a wellness policy, he's never been suspended, nothing, you never hear anything about Kofi Kingston. He's a genuine guy. He deserves to get at least a main event push. I'm not saying that he has to absolutely win the WWE, now the WWE World Heavyweight Championship or not, but he deserves to be to have that main event, push. But WWE, for some reason, won't give it to him. At least, come on, WWE, at least give Kobe a meaningful storyline. Can he get this Miz thing that's going on right now, I don't know. Anyway, next on the list, number 4, Mr. Perfect. Another guy who's just one of a kind. Great wrestler. Amazing. Makes a guy look like $1 million. Can sell like no other. I mean, I don't know where he got his bumping shoes. He must get his bumping shoes from the bumping store or something. But Mr. Perfect was just amazing. If he's getting his ass kicked or he's kicking some ass, he was probably the best doing it. Great intercontinental champion. Great, everything in WWE. He was great at everything he did. WCW, WWE, didn't matter. But he was never given the opportunity to even. He never got that main event opportunity for some reason. I don't know why. This same thing goes back to Kofi and Morrison. You just don't know why he never got that shot to become the man. I know he's great. Not only was Perfect a great wrestler, he's a great talker as well. That's one thing that he has over Kingston or Morrison. Mr. Perfect was he was charismatic, and he was a great wrestler. Two things that you need to be successful in WWE. He had both of those, but just was never given the opportunity. A lot of people say if he was wrestling a different time, not the golden age, because it was ruled by big guys like Hogan. If he wasn't in that Hogan era, he would have been the champion. And I can honestly kind of believe that. I believe that if Mr. Perfect was wrestling as of right now, if he was wrestling in this era, this PG era, or even a little bit before that, I believe that in his prime, Mr. Perfect would have possibly been a world champion at some point in his career. But since it was around that time, it just didn't happen. Next, we have Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley is probably I believe he was exactly what WWE was looking for. I really thought Bobby Lashley was going to be that first black, that African American WWE champion at one point or another. But it looked like it was going that way. They put him on ECW. He became U.S. champion on SmackDown. He was dominating. Won the ECW, ruled that show, and then he went on to Raw. And he had a match with John Cena for the WWE Championship, and then after that his career ended and he left and went for MMA. You can speculate on why he left. Some people think things happen backstage and all that, which could be true or whatever the fact is. But Bobby Lashley, in my opinion, could have been that guy. Not the greatest wrestler in the world, but as far as a big, guy like a Batista or Brock Lesnar, he could have been that black version of those guys, and he could have definitely. Bro, I think if he would have stayed a little bit longer, I think he would have ended up being a world champion at some point, at least the world heavyweight champion at least. But whatever. Next on the list, number 2, Mr. Kennedy. Kennedy. Mr. Kennedy. What can I say about Mr. Kennedy? Man who's just made for at that point in his career, I think Mr. Kennedy was just made for the business. He was made to be a WWE superstar. He had charisma. He was oozing charisma. He was a pretty good, he was a solid wrestler. Not as great as other people I mentioned on this list, but solid. He just had it. He had the full package, and I believe they were gonna, he was gonna end up being the guy at one point or the other in WWE. He won the Money in the Bank, but there's a couple things that just held Mr. Kennedy back. He was injury prone. I mean, he had to lose the Money in the Bank briefcase to Edge because he was hurt. And after that, nothing was ever the same. Came back. I guess he was kind of careless in the ring, hurting superstars, and one thing led to another, and he got released. And that was the end of Mr. Kennedy in the WWE. But if things would have went differently, I really believe that Mr. Kennedy would have been a top guy by now. He would have been one of the top guys in the WWE. But thanks to certain circumstances, that never happened. My number one guy who should have been pushed to the main event, it's got to be my boy, Shelton Benjamin, the gold standard. Shelton Benjamin, at one point or other, when he was with the Team Angle, I knew that no offense to Charlie Haas, but Shelton Benjamin was amazing. I know this guy's going to break out and do something on his own. He's going to be great. And for a while, it looked like he was going to do that. I mean, he had great matches against Chris Jericho, Shawn Michaels, beating Triple H, which is kind of unheard of. I mean, nobody really beat Triple H back then. He beat Triple H, of all people. And I'm like, man, this guy is about to be pushed to the moon. And then his momentum stopped. And they gave him this gimmick with this mama gimmick. He had his mom or something with him. And then he won some more mid-card titles. U.S. Championship, became the gold standard. Went to ECW, and I don't know, that was it right there. He just didn't live up to what he should have been. Shelton Benjamin should have been more than what he ended up being. But what you gonna do? Anyway, guys, that's my list of the guys who should have been pushed to the main event at some point in their careers. What do you think about this list? Do you have anybody else that you think should have been on this list that didn't make it? Comment below, rate, subscribe. Stay good, everybody.